ਖਾਸ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਹੋਏਗੀ। ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ, ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਖੋ-ਵੱਖ ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਕਾਇਦੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨਾਂ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿੰਪਸਨ ਥਾਮਸ ਐਂਡ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟਸ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਉਹ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਬੜਿਆਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੰਸਲਟੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ, ਬਲਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਲਾਅ ਫਰਮਸ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਸਿੰਪਸਨ ਥਾਮਸ ਐਂਡ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟਸ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੁਝ ਬਦਲਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕਾਨੂੰਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੁਝ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚ ਰਿਹਾ, ਕੀ ਕਦੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ 'ਚ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਗਵਾਂਢੀ ਮੁਲਕ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਡੋਨਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਹੋਣਾ ਦੇ ਆਉਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡਾ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉੱਧਰਲੇ ਬੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ। ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਇੱਕ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਅਕਸਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਸਹੂਲਤ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਕੁਝ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਾਸ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣ ਆ ਰਹੀ, ਕੁਝ ਲੋਕ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਕੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਪਏ ਨੇ, ਬੜੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਸਰਨਸ ਨੇ। ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਬਹੁਤੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਚੈਟਮ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਲ। ਮੈਡਮ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ TV.
Excellent, thanks for having me.
Nice to have you back once again. How's things going?
It's going wonderful, thank you. Enjoying the new year, getting things going all over again. It's wonderful.
Amazing. So, Adam, when we talk about the immigration, especially we all are immigrants to the country, and we love to hear about immigration. We love to talk about immigration. We love to talk how things used to be, how things are, and we try to make a guess, try to predict that what are things going to be in the future as well. So, you being into the business, into the law business quite long now, what do you think? Why is immigration such an issue in Canada nowadays? Is it because of politics, or is it really the problem that exists?
It's a combination of things, obviously. It's never one thing. The politics in Canada are driven from internal worries as well about people and the number of the population of Canada, but also external worries. You have, obviously, the United States, who has a lot of immigration concerns and issues, and not just them, throughout the world, which creates effect on Canada. How many people want to immigrate here? How many people want to come here? If they're not allowed to immigrate to the US or something like that, that puts pressure on immigration in Canada.
So, why do you think? So, basically, like in our society, what we see, usually people go to immigration consultants who are RCIC member or ISCC members. They go seek for help, for service, and sometimes they are like okay with the service, sometimes not. Sometimes they would go for appeals and many things to the courts again if they get denial. So why do you think we need to visit a law firm regarding for the immigration? Why not an immigration consultant office?
Well, at our firm, we have an immigration consultant in our law firm who will begin the process with you if it's not an appeal. And by the advantage of that is that he has access to us, who are lawyers there. So it's not an immigration consultant on his own acting as an immigration consultant.
What difference does that make?
Knowledge and experience. When you're a lawyer, you deal with the higher level issues of appeals, and you can deal with more of the problems that arise later on. So you can give advice on how to avoid that problem. If you're looking at a difficult application, or as times are changing now, as we can see with the government making changes in how immigration works, you want to be able to have someone there that can foresee a potential problem down the road and be able to prevent it in the initial phase. So we can speak to our immigration consultant who's speaking to our clients if they have a difficult case and help them avoid any pitfalls or issues that may arise later on to avoid costs of appeal, which can be expensive.
Okay. And do you sometimes, immigration is just not the business, it's kind of a cultural sensitive thing as well. We are like uniting families, getting away from families, and especially when we think about different cultures here in Canada, do you like feel that that sensitivity, or do you feel that a cultural sensitive thing?
Of course, it's a big issue, especially in BC. There's so many diverse cultures here that work together, join together, or feel that sense of compassion amongst themselves. And they have family, friends, relatives throughout the world that may be in difficult circumstances. And they've been really struggling and want to bring them here, want to help them to come. And so you can feel that need. It's difficult. Long-term relationships, as they say, can be very difficult. If your family, friends, parents, brother or sister are somewhere and you want to bring them to Canada, it's a real part of the community, because we see that in the community, people getting together, joining together. It's really a beautiful thing. We want to be helpful to make that continue.
I think you seek a lot of blessings that way as well sometimes,
Hopefully.
Sometimes we talk about like how much is Canada in need of an immigration? How long are we going to need immigration into Canada? Do you have any answer to that?
Canada will always need immigration. Canada was built on immigration and will continue to thrive on immigration. Not only you have the economic benefits of immigration, bringing in skilled workers and workers and families to build and continue to grow Canada as a country, BC, Lower Mainland as an area. But also, Canada is that type of country. We are a melting pot, as I used to say. We have all these different communities, cultures, and social aspects coming together to make us a better place, make us a better understanding. And I think it's fundamental to the societal aspect of Canada that immigration continues and remains strong.
So we were talking earlier about this denials, right? Sometimes you choose wrong consultant, sometimes you get wrong advice, sometimes you don't listen to the good advice. It depends, right? So what if a person is not approved for the visa or for the residency, or sometimes or somehow they get any visa denial or denied anyways? So what is the process for that after? Like, how do you start the process for that after? What are the chances after denial of getting another visa or getting another approved for the permanent residency?
Appeals are not the easiest thing to be successful at, and it takes a lot of work and understanding to see why the denial occurred, and if those errors can be can be rectified, excuse me. So what you want to do is you want to come to a law firm and speak to the lawyer and be honest about everything that's being done, bring all the paperwork that you have, everything that's occurred, so they can have a good look at what's happened and give you proper advice. Because you don't want to take people's money if it's a hopeless situation, but if you can help them, you want to know how to do that. And you want to be able to help them make it successful, make it feel what was wrong, and if they can correct it, correct it. So it's important that you provide all the information, you come in a timely fashion, so they have the time with any restrictions to make sure they're within the time frame to make the appeal, and that you're open and honest about what's occurred. So you can make the best effort and get the best advice you can.
And how expensive is it?
It's often different for appeals than it is when you do your first applications. A lot of them can be flat fees, as they're called, where a definitive amount of money. Appeals are mostly an hourly rate, and it'll depend on the complexity and the nature of the appeal.
Okay. And so now the things have been pretty much changed with this, especially last year, with some political changes. People are expecting, people are sometimes thinking of that immigration is not going to be easy in Canada if we have political shuffle here. So what do you see it that way? Like, which direction are we going to? Are the people here who are looking for the permanent residencies, what is the first thing they need to do, and how can they get into the plan for that or get into the right way? What is your suggestion to them?
Well, the two kind of questions are: what are we looking for in regards to the future of our immigration system, and what would someone do who's looking for a permanent residency? Yeah. Answering the last one first. Talk to someone who knows the current legislation, the current laws and all of that, which would be an immigration consultant, immigration lawyer, because they are changing. And in regards to Canada, we can see across the line the new era is going on with the new administration, and they are making changes rapidly. They aren't changing Canadian law, but they're definitely going to influence Canadian law. And when we have a new government in place, it'll depend on who gets elected. It's quite an important election in that sense, because different parties have different views. But not only will those parties have their own views on immigration, they're going to have to respond to what's happening in the world, what's happening in the United States. So it is a bit of a tumultuous time. We don't exactly know what's going to happen. It's a bit difficult to predict. But for those that are looking for the permanent residency, for example, you're going to have to speak to someone, because things are changing kind of rapidly, and there's a bit of an unknown factor there as well.
And what about the first question?
So the factors that we look for the future, there seems to be, in a political sense, some pressure to limit immigration. And so how they will do that is unclear. They've limited it already in some senses by restricting the areas you can get access to as a permanent resident, and restricting what those applications will consist of to make them successful. There may be more pressure for a number of reasons. One is, if the United States becomes very restrictive in its immigration policy, what looks like it will, more immigrants may be applying to Canada.
Oh,
so you may have from the States or from Mexico, or from other countries. So you may have more competition. Okay. And depending on what government gets elected in Canada, they may have their own internal policies in regards to how much they want to restrict immigration. A lot of the stuff talked about students, immigrating students, and people making permanent residency. We don't know if there's any plan from either party at this time that have a legislative agenda to make specific changes. But we can anticipate there's some changes coming. We just don't know how significant they will be.
And what advice you want to give to all of those people who are right now looking for the immigration or to seek into Canada, or who are already in Canada, been here from years, not getting things done in the right way, still hoping for some better announcements or better like things to happen. What's your advice to them?
My advice to them is if you get an understanding of what the policies involve, meaning for example, the permanent residency we spoke about, there are certain categories that they fall into that are going to be successful.
Okay.
If you can figure out what categories you may fall into, do your work to fit that category, to make sure you're taking the appropriate steps in whatever you're doing, be it your work, your school, or your life, to put you in those categories, because they are narrowing. So you get the advice in advance so you can prepare yourself, your family, or your friends to fit into these particular categories that are arising out of the changes we're seeing today in immigration policy.
It's the only way they're going to make it, right?
It's true. It's a difficult time. It is because of the flux. We don't know what's exactly coming down the road.
Yes. Adam, thank you so much. I think that's it for today.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you once again.
Thank you.
Thanks. Looking forward. So ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਐਡਮ ਯੂਲੈਂਡ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੇ ਕੀਤੀ। ਬਾਕੀ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਖਿਲਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੋਗਰਾਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਾਲੂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਆਗਿਆ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਟੀਵੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ।